Yes, so first of all, Julia and Michel, thanks for inviting us today. For the next 25 minutes, we will talk about aligning the business strategy with AI. Before we go, the short personal introduction. My name is Volker de Jong, partner at Rewire, being in this field for 15 years now, together with my colleague Simon, principal, and he is leading our GenAI and algorithmic system design. For the ones that do not know us, because of our name change, in the past we were known as My Company. We have recently rebranded to Rewire, and over the last 15 years we've helped over 1,100 clients in 25 countries in delivering value from data and AI. That's what we do. We do that from Amsterdam, from the Netherlands and Germany, with a team of around 150 people, consisting of data scientists, data engineers, cloud engineers, software engineers, and translators that build the bridge between the business and the more technical aspects. Without going too deep into this, we thought, okay, how can we make this conversation also the most meaningful to you? And we want to switch it a little bit. We want to start with all the developments in the GenAI and the AI area and how we think companies can benefit from that, and then build a bridge a little bit more holistically to what does that means for the strategy that you need to follow. And for that first part, I want to ask Simon to take the stage.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Volker. And maybe it's always hard when you have a very good presentation to go ahead of you that has a lot of very interesting technical details to follow up with a strategic presentation. And as Juriaan said, whenever you talk about AI and strategy nowadays, you can't escape the topic of GenAI. Over the past 2 years, roughly, all of you have experienced it. The big tech players and all the tech startups are shouting it off the roofs that GenAI is the new kid on the block. But also the general population is really interacting with AI and in particular generative AI at a scale that was previously not really possible. The interfaces with ChatGPT, but also Copilot, also Claude, all those cool tools out there allow just anyone to interact with AI as previously only experts really could. And a lot of cool demos are there to show for it. I'm sure all of you remember the launch early this year of Sora. I just read this morning there's a new update on Sora again. And all of these sort of great developments in the field of AI always get me asking, how far can they really take it? And I don't know if you remember, but some of the discussions around the videos that Sora put out there were discussions about people arguing whether it knew physics or not. Right? So it's generating video, but is it actually understanding the kind of videos that it generates? And similarly, for large language models, of which we've seen a few examples in the previous presentation as well, you could argue how intelligent are they really? Are there any chess players out here? There's one, there's a few. Very nice. I'll keep you guys in mind for a little bit later, because I am a chess player myself as well, a very amateur one, to be fair. But one way to test for intelligence of systems is to use them for tasks that are considered intelligent, but that they are not designed for. So naturally, I asked ChatGPT to play chess with me. And ChatGPT will confidently announce it can play chess, right? This is how it went. ChatGPT is playing white, I'm playing black. For a while, the game progresses, as you would expect, quite naturally, until we reach this position. ChatGPT is playing white, I'm playing black. For those of you that know chess, will certainly see that my position is just a slight bit better than ChatGPT's, but that's not really the point. Because in this position, I have just taken a pawn with my black knight, and ChatGPT responds by saying, I will take your knight with my knight. There's a lot of shaking heads. Why is there a shaking head, Juriaan?
It's not possible.
It's not possible. No. Which white knight in this position would be able to take mine?
None.
None. It's what I asked ChatGPT. Wait, which knight are you actually using to capture my knight? Apologies for the confusion. I will use my knight on e3 to capture on d4. Now, even those of you that might not describe yourself as a chess player, you might recognize that this move is an illegal move. And it goes to show that although generative AI and ChatGPT is considered by many people to be very intelligent, it has its limits, right? So Gen AI is generative AI, it's not general AI. And in that way, it mimics some of the other sort of big AI booms that we have seen over the past with, like, for example, the social media algorithms that we've seen with AI startups promising sort of golden mountains because they have general AI. Generative AI has its limits. We are a company that deals in AI, so of course we want to see the opportunities that AI offers, and all is not lost. We don't need general AI to make impact. In fact, I can build a chatbot that can play chess. Small secret, chess is played better by AI than by humans ever since the victory of Deep Blue against Kasparov in 1997. Nowadays, chessbots are vastly outperforming humans on all possible levels. So how do you build a chatbot that can play chess? You basically ask an LLM whether the user wants to play chess. If the answer is no, just be a chatbot. If the answer is yes, connect the user to a version of Stockfish that's able to play chess and use your LLM as an interface between Stockfish and the user. It's not hard. Anyone can do this in a few minutes. It does hold some key messages that we also like to give our customers when it comes to making impact with AI. One is, use AI for what it's good at. General AI is not here yet. I'm not sure if it's around the corner or not. It might be a long while before we reach general AI. But while general AI is not here yet, AI is very good at particular tasks. AI is very good at playing chess. AI is nowadays very good at chatting with us. AI is not very good at general tasks. So one of the things that we always discuss with customers is use AI for what it's good at. A second part that I also really liked from the previous presentation is that they very much showed how different components in their solution work together to get the optimal results. And again, this is of course a very simple and a much simplified example as well, but what you already see is to build a chatbot that can play AI, you need components. You need different components of AI that do different things for your solution. A lot of opportunities that AI offers requires these integrated components. AI is considered a general purpose technology that has a lot of different talents, and I would agree that one might consider it such, but AI is also a container term for a lot of different algorithms, techniques that are really good at particular things. By combining those things smartly, a lot is possible, but it's always an effort of integrating the right components to get to the right results. One thing that organizations have picked up on over the course of at least our existence since 2006, so the past 18 years, is that as an organization that is not AI native, that wants to make the most of AI, you need experts in your organization that can build these kinds of solutions and can assess what AI is good at and what it isn't. And one of the cool developments that we have seen is that organizations nowadays have those teams, right? So just us as Rewire, we have trained over 400 professionals for large organizations that are not AI native to build AI solutions. This is just since our founding in 2006. 2024, the counter is at 468 professionals that are able to build AI solutions that are active at companies like ING, like ABN AMRO, like all the ones that Volker just put out there. Still, we see that many of them struggle to actually capture the true value potential from AI. And there's many, you will recognize some of the headlines, but if you just Google how do organizations get impact from AI, a lot of the headlines that you get is they don't. They struggle. Despite having the teams with AI professionals to do it. So Maybe a question, Volkert. Why is it so difficult, even if you have experts, to make impact with AI?
Thank you. I want to make my life easy, maybe put it back to the group. So we have seen the technology is there, the people are there, but still many companies that we are facing are struggling to get the full potential of the promise out of it. And what would you say? Are there any thoughts about it? What does companies hold back? Why does?
I think you're lacking business intelligence.
Sorry, just a second.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Okay. Is it still on?
Yeah.
For me, it would be also that you're missing the persons that are integrating AI with business intelligence. So you need to be an expert on the topic itself to see the opportunities in the field. And if you don't see that, if you're only using AI as a technology, you will not find solutions.
Yeah. It's connecting business knowledge, what you would like to achieve with the technology in it. So, to answer that question, I think in the broader sense, I want to go back in time to the 19th century. And there are a lot of similarities that we are facing today that did also apply back then. And this was the time where the steam engine was founded, and it gained massive productivity gains in the factories. A few years later, there was a new invention, it was electricity. And that promised, again, a big next step, a breakthrough in gaining the next productivity gains. And the response to this new technology in the early adoption years was, let's replace the factories, the steam engine with electricity, put people in another place, and we run our business as usual. And then the time of disillusionment came, not the full potential that the innovation has in itself came out of it. And there is lots of similarities to here, because obviously, if you want to gain the full potential, it requires a full redesign of the factory you're working in. And that also applies to when we're talking about today and to AI. And because we got a lot of questions, what does good look like? How should we deal with it? What steps should we take? And the answer to that, there is not a single answer to it. It depends for every organization, depending on their scale, the complexity, the level you want to create synergies from your data AI. But there are a few building blocks that every organization that takes itself seriously and really want to create this next breakthrough. So it's plakken van de pleister. What's the Engels? Just fixing some holes in your productivity. But it's fundamentally rethinking how could my organization works. And that comes with, and that's what you see on the right side, building your capabilities that are able to deliver on that impact, on that growth. We've touched upon the data and the technology capabilities already, so the technology is there. It requires a redesign of your architecture. How do you deal with data? How do you deal with your AI project architecture? Lots of new demands come in, so you need to rethink, okay, how are fundamentally taking on this? Data becomes even more important. So in the past, where it was just seen as someone that is handled for IT, it's now a core asset to companies. And it's becoming the core bottleneck. It's now how do we organize our data into data products produced once, consumed by many. But that's not the only thing. It's also about your organization and your processes, because once you start to ingest AI in your core processes and you really want to make a fundamental breakthrough, then you need to rethink your business processes, as you just mentioned. So the way how I make decisions in my supply chain is not just ingesting AI in it, the decisions will fundamentally change, and also the way how you deal with your processes will change. So it starts with business processes. When we started customers in the first 3 months, we talked maybe 50% of our time with people on the work floor. So how do you do it today? Which decisions are you making? There's room for optimization. We do not start in the technical area speaking with data scientists. It's an output of that. This is a very important thing. How do you redesign your processes? It also comes with your data AI operating model. Data becomes more important. New roles evolves. Everyone gets something to do with data. It means a lot to organizations. And again, that as a result, ask people to upskill so new roles emerge, but also for existing people, you need to reskill yourself, because this time demands something new for you. So as in the past, you need to understand how to work with these new machines. Now you need to know how to work with this new technology. And that's not only for the technical people. It even goes that far that some companies make it obligatory that all their 30,000 employees need to have a basic understanding what data and AI means. Also these are the capabilities. Then is the question, if I do this all, am I then there? And then the obvious answer is no, because the pitfall that we often see is that these things are often developed in silos. And what I do mean with that is that we're going to rethink our data technology architecture, or we're starting a reskilling program, or maybe in supply chain we're thinking about what AI can mean. And I think what does good looks like if you do it all in sync with each other. And how do you then define where to start? That's where the value comes in. Because it all starts and ends and in between with value. So how do you drive value for the company? And the biggest value is often in the key processes that value have. We have some examples here. Can be in the supply chain, in the pricing, in the marketing and sales area. It's often there. Key functions that you want to redesign. And depending on where the value is, that defines also the rhythm and you develop your data architecture and what that then does mean for new roles and new skills, and etc., etc. And that's the difficulty, because you need to move in sync with all steps, and over time you build some technical depth, etc. But that's the only way to do it. So this is a little bit conceptual. I would like to end and then leave also the floor to questions with some lessons learned from our side over the last few years. It's not extensive, there is many more to say about it, but this is at least the 9 key lessons that we distilled. And we clustered them a little bit out of phases that you typically go. So the first phase is always prioritize and design, and it starts from a vision that is translated to priorities and focus with buy-in at C-level. So if there is no buy-in at the highest level in the company, sooner or later you will get a problem with investments, with showing the impact, with really creating breakthroughs. It's always start there. Think about the clear roadmap where all the components that I just mentioned have a place. So do not forget about one dimension, because if you forget about one, if you forget about the people, if you forget about data, if you forget about tech, sooner or later it will hold you back and it will create an issue. Very important one, the starting point. That is where you make or break it in this such big kind of transformation. Because if you start in the wrong point, too difficult, then it will fail, and then it's very difficult to convince people. So define a starting point where there's value, which is possible, and where you can really excite people, and it helps also to create such a journey, self-funding. It's about people. I made already the point. Start with people that need to work with it. Do not start from the technological things that you need. Start with the people, involve them early on and extensively. And that's the bridge to the next point. Think about how does the human AI collaboration work. So we all know, as Simon said, it's very powerful, but there are areas on the probability curve where AI is not that powerful. And if you can explain it, where does AI good, where is it rubbish, then it really creates trust, and it also gets the most out of the human and AI together. Measure and communicate impact. Very important, sometimes even more important than the solution itself. And then from there, of course, you need to think about the foundation, and we have listed there. I want to say even more, it's the people capabilities. Invest in them early on. So it's always better to start with upskilling people and take them along the journey. So to jump a little bit to our 3 key lessons that we would like to land with you today. Use AI for what it's good at. It requires integrated solutions, but the only way to deploy it at massive scale is see it as a broad organizational approach where you touch all upon the ingredients that are required to gain a success. This was our story. Thank you for listening.
One question for Simon. You started with the question, does ChatGPT understands physics when making a video? You didn't answer that one.
For Sora.
It's implicit in making the video, or is it, if you ask a question on physics, can it give an answer?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Sora itself is a video generator, right? So it generates videos, so it doesn't necessarily answer questions. So the debate was whether the model itself that generates the videos has some fundamental understanding somewhere stored about physics as we would know it or learn it in school, right? There are many examples of Sora generating videos that are physically incorrect. So the reigning sort of emerging conclusion is that it doesn't know physics. It's just really good at reproducing video materials. And a lot of video materials tend to have logical physics. So a lot of videos that will be generated seem to have logical physics. But the model itself, I would argue, does not know physics.
But if you would compare two knowledge graphs, one knowledge graph that has all the physics in it, so all the laws of nature, and map that with a knowledge graph that's inside the ChatGPT that makes the video, where you see patterns that are similar in both elements, then you could say there are some elements of physics embedded in the one that's making the video. So that would be a nice question, because I'm quite intrigued with your first question. Does it embed physics in making the video? There should be something inside, because walking, you don't walk upside down or...
No, and you won't typically generate videos of people that walk in the air, kind of. Unless you ask it to, by the way. But, no, so it's a fair question. I don't know the conclusive answer, but my feeling is it doesn't know physics in the sense that we would know physics. Yeah.
Well, one more question. Two questions. So.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm coming back to the question that you asked in the beginning, Folkert, about why does it applying AI, especially in the mid and the small size companies, fail when they apply AI? Maybe putting a question back to you on that one. We have already had about 2 AI winters in the past. Since the beginning, 1950s, there have been already 2 AI winters. The main reason was the answer that you gave, or one of the audience gave. It didn't fulfill the business needs that people expected. Now, if I listen to conversations that, for example, LeCun has, he's one of the godfathers of AI, he says that generative AI is as good as dead. In 2-3 years, generative AI is completely outdated. It wouldn't fulfill the business needs. So just asking you whether you think that's a correct statement from LeCun, and if that is the case, what do you think would be the alternative for that?
So can you explain the question again? I'm not sure about.
So do you think LeCun's statement is that generative AI, what we have now experiencing with AI development, will be as good as dead in 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fulfill the business needs, and it doesn't fulfill what we call the requirements for AGI. I would like to see your statement on that one, your answer to that one. And if the answer is yes, what will be the alternative approach?
Yeah, so the alternative approach is, and it is close to the point that I made also on the steam engine, and that's really about really fundamentally rethink it, not because also LeCun thinks it from the technology, but turn it the other way around. Start with, okay, where do humans make decisions today, and where are typically the pitfalls now, and the lack, where do you lose value, whatever it is. It can be customer NPS, can be revenues, can be costs, etc. But typically, and I think that's the typically point where you start. How can you make it better, and how can you use technology for it? And of course, over time, I think lots of problems that create suboptimal solutions today will get better over time. It will fix things, and then you need to adapt from it. And I think that's how it works. So as an organization, you need to be adaptive to whatever developments are there, but always take your key business processes and how do you make decisions as a company as a starting point. And then look, okay, where can we trust, where can we build upon, and where should we correct? And of course, also the ethics comes in and all the etc. And of course, I cannot look into the future, but I strongly believe that over time, I think it's still a positive message. I think we will be in a journey where we will see that many companies will make this step and will transform also the company. It will not go that fast, but if you approach it like this, then then that would be my answer to it. But I'm not sure if it is a full answer
Let's
to
say
your
if you
question.
turn it around, right?
Yeah.
Turn it around. You think the current generative AI technology will now fulfill the business
Yeah.
demand?
Maybe
That would be the answer?
can I add a little bit, because I think the statement, as you also put it, is about Jan LeCun's statement that it's a dead end on the road to AGI, right? So to general AI. I think he's in a much better position than I am to make that statement. So, but let's assume that that's true. That doesn't mean that the Gen AI that we have nowadays doesn't offer new capabilities compared to the AIs that were there before. So, for example, this example of building a chatbot that can play chess, that it's this easy, like 5 years ago was unthinkable. But now it's super easy to build this and anyone can do it, because Gen AI, as it is today, despite where it's maybe going in the future, already adds new capabilities for us to use. And I think the point we're making is AI can do some stuff, and Gen AI as well. Whether it's general AI now or in the future, doesn't matter if you can use it for what it's good at now. And that's what we need to, that's what we are working with, like with our clients on, to understand how Gen AI can make a difference for them now. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
One more question in the back. Two more. Yeah.
So, I mean, comparing AI winter to AI winter, or to like the classic AI to generative AI, I think is kind of nonsensical. I mean, they're both kind of prediction machines, but there's more differences than things in common, in my opinion. But question: do you think that like the business value in short to medium term is more like directly to consumer or business to business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can only speak from our practice. I think the biggest jump, we see it especially in the business to business, but that's also because they're in the market, you see that they are less mature on certain things. So business to consumer, especially some banks, insurance companies are already investing for 50 years in these capabilities, have big teams on it. It's also quite high on the agenda. I would say lots of more like industrial companies, by nature, they have never been invested in this kind of technologies. Really smoothing the supply chain, better pricing, also in the sales and marketing area, there's much to gain. And I would say it's more that they are from a lower beginning point, that there is much to gain. So that's what we typically see. And also the consumer, the business to consumer companies have invested quite a lot also in, especially in marketing, MBAs, and giving personal recommendations, advices, etc. So that's already quite mature. And of course, they can be improved. But the question is it really a breakthrough, or is it just more incremental value creation?
Let's hope so. There's been enough resources spent as entertainment, I reckon.
Yeah. So that would be my, at least what we are signaling, that also the DSMs of this world, etc., are now having demand and asks to AI. And in the past, it was mainly the banks, insurance companies, telcos that were really innovating on it. Yeah.
Thanks, Volker.
Yeah.
And Simon, I'll give it to Simon, as he is.
Yeah, of course. That's why more than me.
So while Michel, I think you need to set up. I have two things, right? So, I was far ahead of my time, because I used to win most of my chess matches by chatting. 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 No. Chatting. I chatted.
Oh.
And so not going to be a stand-up comedian, I guess. Tough crowd here. Tough crowd. Other thing is, what I think is a big factor in this whole turnaround with the generative AI is that people are using the generative AI on a daily basis. If I see my kids, and they're in the age category between 13 and 20, they're using more generative AI than I was using in the past when we were going from desktop to server. That was my age. That's how old I am. So how do you think the impact will be for organizations if they're not going fast enough? Well, all these people want to start experimenting and using this generative AI tooling. Who wants to take Simon, you're usually a bit shorter from answering. just kidding.
He also has the wine. So.
He also has the wine. I think that's a good point in that it's becoming for now it's a competitive advantage if you're ahead with GenAI, but soon enough it will become a liability if you don't use it enough for the things that it enables. So similar to the question that we had before on where will it go, it already provides a lot of new capabilities that were just impossible to have before, that have a lot of commercial impact for organizations. And for now, that's a competitive advantage. But if you wait 2 years, 3 years, then I imagine you will start to lag and potentially
and lose your good employees to competitors.
Absolutely.
That have progressed that good.
Yeah.
So it's basically no sitting still then.
No, you shouldn't.
Thanks again. Thanks for that.